Hello, I'm Dustin Czarny, Democratic Elections Commissioner for Onondaga County. Today is Commissioner in a Car, and we are 2 weeks away from the primary, and just a few days away from the start of early voting on Saturday, June 12th. So this Commissioner in a Car is dedicated to everything you need to know about if you want to early vote for the June 22nd primary. So this is our fourth early voting session in New York State. Our first was during the general in 2019. And of course, we had two last year during the June combined presidential and local primary and the general election. And now this is our fourth. But this is our first local primary. So things are a little different with this early voting session. Because not every area of Onondaga County is actually open, because we don't have primaries in every locality or geographic division, let alone parties. So the first thing we should know is who is eligible to vote in this upcoming election. Well, if you're a Democrat or Republican in the city of Syracuse, you have primaries for mayor. Democrats also have primaries for common councilor at large and school board. So that's the entire city of Syracuse. Also in the 1st Common Council District and in the 16th County Ledge District and the 15th County Ledge District. If you're a Democrat, you have a primary choice as well. Now, the 15th County Ledge District also stretches into a portion of Onondaga and a portion of Geddes. So if you're a Democrat in the 15th County Ledge District and not inside the city, you also have a race to choose in this primary. Now, if you're a Republican, we already talked about the city of Syracuse. Citywide, the mayoral race has a Republican primary, but we also have Republican primaries for highway superintendent out in Lysander and highway superintendent in Skaneateles. And we also have a Republican primary for Pompey for the town board. And then if you're a conservative in the town of Manlius, you have a primary and for a town judge, and you only go to one polling place on election day. We'll talk about election day not next week, but the week after. So but we'll talk about that. But there's only one polling place open for that conservative primary in Manlius. And likewise, if you're a working families member in the town of Salina or in the County Ledge District 5, you have a primary, and all of that is at Salina Town Hall on election day. So it's the town justice for the town of Salina, and also the County Ledge District 5 has a primary, and that is in the I guess you would say the eastern half of the town of Salina, as well as a portion of Cicero and one ED in DeWitt. And then, of course, that's also in parts of the city of Syracuse. So, but if you're outside the city of Syracuse, you go to the town of Salina town hall to vote on election day for those small party primaries. So that's who's eligible to vote in the upcoming primary. But if you are wanting to vote early, there are 4 sites open to you starting this Saturday. The Armand Magnarelli site and the Syracuse Community Connection site that in the side of the city of Syracuse. Both of those early voting sites are open. The Camillus Fire Station Camillus Fire Station is open because that's nestled between Geddes and Lysander and near Skaneateles. So that is the best early voting site for that area that is having it. And then, of course, the Lafayette Fire Station #1 is open because the town of Pompey is having that primary, and we wanted to have an early voting site open for that was close to those districts. That being said, you can go to any 4 of those sites. So if you're working inside the city of Syracuse but live in Skaneateles and a Republican and you want to vote, you can go to any of the early voting sites inside the city as well. So that, that is where and the reason we don't have all 6 open is because not the entire the entire county is not open. So we only have, we did not open up the ones in DeWitt and Clay. We felt that was not necessary, since those areas are not having primaries. And I actually agree with this. This is not one of those things that I don't agree with. That we did. We had to come to an agreement about which early voting sites to open, and that's what we decided for the primary. So what are the hours for early voting? So we already established the sites, and that you can go to any site, and we established the areas of who's having a primary. So the hours are 10 to 3 on Saturdays and Sundays. And remember, early voting runs from June 12th through June 20th. So that's going from a Saturday to a Sunday, over 9 days. So on Saturdays and Sundays, we're open from 10 to 3. On Monday, Thursday, and Friday, we're open from 10 to 6. And on Tuesday and Wednesday, we're open from noon to 8 at those early voting sites. So those hours are the 60 hours of early voting that are required by New York State law for the primary. And for any election. So we have those hours. Now, a lot of people claim that you can vote twice if you vote early, or there's no protections against that. So I'd like to, dispel these rumors. Again, we've had 3 very successful early voting, sites here in, it runs here in Onondaga County and across the state. And we've seen no evidence of anybody being able to vote twice. And that's because the system is set up to prevent it. So the poll pads that are at every early voting site, not only do they talk to the printer at the early voting site to print up the ballot that you need in your area, they also talk to our each other, and they also talk to our home, our cloud-based system. And so if you check in at an early voting site, within about 60 seconds to 90 seconds, that file is already going to be told to every poll pad within the county, saying that you've already checked in and that you can't get another ballot. And within the site itself, it's something like 30 seconds or something along those lines. So we're really you're really not able to check in twice and be able to vote on the machine, with early voting. Now, a lot of people get worried about security because these poll pads talk to each other and talk to the home site. It should be noted that you cannot actually. It does not actually talk to our server at the Board of Elections. Our server does not talk to the internet, which has our voter registration system on there. We have paper backups in every site in case of a crash of the poll pads, and an ability to print up ballots as well. So we have a lot of security measures in place. And the cloud-based system actually has a lot of security measures in place to keep people from being able to interact with the poll pads. The poll pads themselves do not run anything but the applications that we have on it that deal with election security. So the inspectors can't browse the internet and go to malicious websites or anything like that. I already see there's a lot of questions in the link. I saw one from Michael Hunter asking where he can buy a poll pad. That I believe is a facetious question, but the poll pads are standard iPads, but they have security software on it. The software is proprietary to No Ink, which is the largest electronic poll pad manufacturer in the country. And they have to, so you can buy a pad anywhere. You can buy an iPad wherever you want, but it won't have the software on it that you can use, and it won't have our database on it. Those are those are things that have to be downloaded in our warehouse and uploaded, and we have bipartisan teams working on that this week. So let's see. I know there's a lot of other questions here. David Harding asked, will A.G. James win at court against Rensselaer County RE early voting sites affect Onondaga County in the primary or general election? I don't think it will affect us this year, but it is an important court ruling because what we have here is the Attorney General taking both the Democratic and Republican elections commissioners in Rensselaer County to court. Rensselaer County was ordered to redo their early voting plan 5 days away from early voting. And what is at issue here is the city of Troy. Last year, the city of Troy did not have an early voting site in it. It's the most populous locality in the county of Rensselaer. For some reason, they put 2 early voting sites both outside of the city of Troy last year. This year, a law was passed that made Rensselaer County have to put an early voting site in the most populous county or most populous town or locality inside of its county. And that law was passed mainly because of the Rensselaer issue. But it affects everybody in New York State. The Democratic and Republican commissioner there, they came up with a solution to put a site in the city of Troy, but it was almost on the outskirts of the city of Troy. It was while it was within the city line, it was not centrally located. It wasn't near bus lines. It wasn't adequately put in there to allow the population of the city of Troy to vote. At least that's what the advocates and the Attorney General said. So this is an important thing that the Attorney General took them to the court and won. They now have to come up with a plan that allows for this. Apparently there was a negotiation about adding a 4th site downtown and to comply with this, and apparently those negotiations broke down, and so the judge has ordered this. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get this done by Friday. I know that there's a place in Rensselaer that has offered to be an early voting site. It sounds like that's where they're going to have to go, but that I'm not a member to that action, and I'm only an observer, so it'll be interesting to see. But what it could do is could inform us for if early voting is expanded next year, which I believe it will be. We're going to have to choose more sites. I believe we could have to choose 4 more sites based on the expansion law that's being discussed right now in New York. It won't be for this year, but it will be for next year. And so knowing that there is precedent that the sites must be centrally located in large populations and easily accessible, that's going to help us make a determination of what those additional 4 sites are. David also asked, it's been alleged that former president believes he's going to be reinstated in August. There's actually no mechanism in the Constitution that would allow him to be reinstated. There's no reality-based belief that he'll be reinstated other than the addled mind of the former president, who cannot give up that he has lost the last election. And every reasonable audit that has been done in every court case since then have shown that he has lost. So I'm not spending any more time talking about the former guy, and his ridiculous statements. Let's see. Another question is, looks like David asked that a couple times. Well, what did you think? David asked me what I think of Senator Manchin's recent op-ed where he will not change a filibuster or vote against it. I think it's unsound. The arguments he makes in that op-ed is that the reason we can't pass legislation to protect voting rights is that it has to be bipartisan, but he leaves out the fact that these voter suppression tactics are a goal and main drive of the national and state Republican parties. So it's not bipartisan because they don't believe in protecting voting rights. They believe in voter suppression. And so, of course, it won't be bipartisan. He thinks that the John Lewis Voting Rights Act will help this situation. It might, but he also believes that needs to be bipartisan. And I think he's going to find out when they bring that up for a vote that it's not. I hope that when he sees these votes over the next couple of weeks, where everything goes down because not a single Republican will come on board, and definitely not 10, that maybe he'll change his mind. I don't know, but we'll have to see. David, you got a lot of questions today. Should the Electoral Count Act be amended so there can't be presidential electors in Congress for the next presidential election? Well, yeah, I don't believe the Electoral College should exist. I think it's a byproduct of the racist slaveholding states in back in the formation of the Constitution, and I believe it needs to be changed. We need to go. We have the ability to do popular vote. We should do popular vote. Every other election in the United States is popular vote. This is the only thing and the only head of state election that I know of in the world where a electoral college system is used for an executive. So it needs to be changed. It's a byproduct of a bygone time, and it is not. It's actually not giving competition. It is actually preventing competition, because if it was a popular vote, then we would have competition in all 50 states as opposed to 20 or so swing states. Let's see here. There's a few more questions that have come in. One question is, let's see here. Sorry, the scrolling feature on this doesn't really go. There's a lot of them. Judith said Manchin stimulated her to write a letter to the editor this morning. Good for you, Judith. That's what we need. Here's a good question. Michael Hunter put in there. At what point is the absentee ballot cross-referenced to in-person vote? That's a great question, because next week I'm going to be dedicating to absentee ballots, as this week I'm doing early voting. But, you can get an absentee ballot if you want to vote in the June election. Those are cross-referenced after Election Day, because absentee ballots cannot be opened until after Election Day, because you can vote in person on Election Day or during the early voting, and have your absentee ballot pulled from the stack. So starting the day after the election, and maybe a couple of days after the election, because we have to get all of those absentee ballots from the different polling places in and stamped in. We run a report that lets us know who voted and cross-reference it against everybody who's turned in an absentee ballot, and then pull those absentee ballots and put them aside. We don't throw anything out. We always put it aside, and it's there for campaigns to look at, in the post-election process. So if they say we did something wrong, they can challenge that. So that is absolutely done right after the election. It's always been done, by the way. We have, this isn't a product of early voting. It is something that we've done my entire time as commissioner. Is we cross-check those absentees against the Election Day vote. Judith Jerome, you said you blasted Tenney's Integrity Caucus. That does seem to be an oxymoron, doesn't it? All right, so that's early voting. I'm getting back to programming those back in the office to get ready for Friday, and that's what's going on in the office right now. Is we're preparing for early voting that starts on Saturday. The stuff gets shipped out on Friday, so I better be ready by then. We will be. And then the election is moving forward, and we are receiving absentee ballot votes and everything that's coming in. So we're processing those and getting ready for this local primary. So it's going to be interesting. Results will be available starting at 9 o'clock on election night. We're putting some finishing touches on the absentee ballot result reporting that I'll go over next week. You'll be able to see those within the maps as well that we do on election night. We have a way now to put those in there so you can see the combined totals as we process the absentees after election day, 7 days after election day. So I hope you're ready to vote, going out there, getting your absentee if you need it. Go to early vote. You can go to onvote.net and see all of the early voting locations, hours, check your registration status, and see sample ballots as well as apply for an absentee ballot online. So thank you very much. I've been Dustin Czarny, and this Thursday on Zoom with Czarny, I have Jarrett Berg of Vote Early New York. He's a wonderful resource, and we talk all about how early voting has evolved in New York State over the last few years, and then on tomorrow, I should have a Wonky Wednesday up at some point tomorrow, although I've been running kind of late on these things as I've been working pretty hard getting this primary done. But I'm finishing up my run of towns with the town of Van Buren tomorrow. It's the last town in my Wonky Wednesday series. And after that, after the election, I will start doing the County Ledge Wonky Wednesdays, but in between now and then I'll be talking a little bit about how we have our June election is a good way to check in on our registrations and see how that's going. By the way, we're at our largest registration, over 308,000 voters in Onondaga County. That's larger than last year, so we're continuing to add to the registration pool. Usually we lose a lot of people after the presidential election, but people are continuing to register, so that's a good thing. And it will hopefully that will lead to higher turnout as well. So take care, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.